One. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jocelyn Ross, and I am the president of South Carolina Hands and Voices. It is a pleasure to be here with you to give you an overview of the South Carolina Deaf and Hard of Hearing Network. And this presentation is being done joint with Lisa Jolly at Beginnings SC. And actually, all of our Topic Tuesdays are a joint partnership between South Carolina Hands and Voices, our parent to parent support group network, and Beginnings SC, a professional agency with parent specialists that support families across their journey as well. And this is a topic that we think is good because no matter where you are on a journey, South Carolina has so many agencies and entities that overlap with the deaf and hard of hearing community. And my daughter is 13, and I'm still learning so much stuff with the networks that we're trying to give you this presentation to have an overview of the network. And we're going to give you some good information in this presentation. But a little bit of background. Next slide. Again, Jocelyn Ross, and I'm the president of Hands and Voices. And I mentioned my why is my 13-year-old who's deaf and wears bilateral cochlear implants. And professionally, I work in research, but I got into this because I remember how I felt when I found out my daughter failed the newborn hearing screening and wanted to connect with other families and having my daughter see other children who had hearing aids or cochlear implants or did ASL. And on our journey, we connected with Lisa Jolly. She was actually the one who started the Hitch Up and the North Carolina chapter. And before we came Hands and Voices, we did a chapter of Hitch Up in Columbia, South Carolina at USC Speech and Hearing Center. And she's also a parent of a deaf and hard of hearing child who's a young adult right now. And she has been serving in so many capacities from AG Bell to different organizations to now serving on Camp Cheerio, as well as being a huge resource for families at Beginnings SC as a parent specialist. So that's us there in our picture at a conference, and we just enjoy networking with our passion of supporting and connecting families. And so we're going to show you the South Carolina network. Next slide. So I'm a visual person, and as I mentioned, I'm still on my journey as well and young in it with my daughter being in middle school. And I wanted to find a way to kind of visualize all of the services as I travel the state and meet with families and tell them about resources. So it's important to do that because 95% of children who are born deaf or hard of hearing are born to hearing parents. And of those, 90% have no prior experience with hearing loss or the deaf community. And so we're pretty much starting out new as a whole new world, and we're always seeking resources. And typical ways to find resources are through our existing information communities. We go to the internet for a lot of stuff, website, brochures. We look at videos. We can go on a deep dive on a network and try to get so much information. And then while we're on our journey, of course, naturally, the professionals that we come across once we found out about our diagnosis, whether it's your audiologist, your speech pathologist, your pediatrician who maybe told you, or a school professional if your child maybe failed the hearing screening at school. Those professionals help you and get on your way. And then some are lucky to do also know adults who are deaf or hard of hearing and have role models in their family. And then educational agencies, because we often work with our school system. We get information from our educational entities and friends and families and spiritual worship. Because for me, I know my church has a deaf ministry. So you may have seen one at your church. And then now that it's a personal relationship because you have a child who's deaf or hard of hearing, that could be an outlet. And then the last one is family services. As I mentioned, Hands and Voices is a South Carolina chapter, but we're one of national. And so we're all across the state, and families find support through parent to parent. So those are the avenues. And so I give this graphic because parents are at the center of this. And we're doing these Topic Tuesdays because, again, parents are our focus. And then we wrap our parents with the professionals and the deaf and hard of hearing adults and education to get correct, unbiased information so you can make informed decisions, so you can have family support and the information you need to make sure that whatever vision you have for your child who's deaf and hard of hearing, they can realize their potential. So we're going to dive in and give you those networks that you may or may not know in South Carolina, and even some national resources toward the end of how you can find services along your journey. Next slide. So as I mentioned, the different areas that families are wrapped around, and if you think of that visual, the way we'll advance through this PowerPoint are through those different categories. And so this first one is information in existing communities. And before we get deep into this, please know that the video recording will be available on our YouTube channel for you to reference. And this PowerPoint will also be a reference on YouTube with Beginnings SC and our SC Hands-In website under resources. And as we get into this, you'll see some of them have the little video recording for that, because it could have been that it was a previous Topic Tuesday session presenter that gave great information about it, as well as a presenter doing some of Hands and Voices things. So you'll have that as a video reference, so that if you don't know that about that agency or just want to get a refresh on that agency, you can hear directly from people within that entity. And so we break that information in existing communities up in different domains, such as community resource. And I'm just going to spotlight a few. All of them have the bio for you to be able to look at and determine if it's something that you want to browse a little further based on the description. But as I go through this, I'm just going to highlight a few. And the first one on the community that I'll highlight is Irmo Fire Department. They're actually one who is a partner with us at our Back to School Bash that will be July 29th of this year. But they've been a partner with us, and I think we've done Back to School Bash. This may be the 8th year. But they're a great resource, and you can work with your fire department to actually get a bed shaker if you feel that's a tool that your child would need. With my daughter being deaf and a bilateral cochlear implant user, she does not sleep with her devices on. And so as a safety measure, the fire department came out and they installed a specific fire alert alarm in her room that connects to her alarm that connects to a bed shaker underneath. And if it was a fire, it would blink as well as shake the bed. And so that's one resource that I want to mention there. Again, under healthcare, we have the different departments, and Department of Mental Health is one that we have a video on. And I do want to mention, I did not put it here, but when I was looking through, I noticed that MUSC is a medical hospital in Charleston and different branches all across the state. But I should have also mentioned USC, University of South Carolina. They have an audiology department, speech pathology, and does medical with our deaf and hard of hearing students. I cannot mention an SCAG Bell. As I mentioned, Lisa Jolly, who does presentation joint with us, has been a past president and member of this agency, and they offer some wonderful conferences that have been annually or biannually, depending on the year. I know we've gone out of COVID and some things have gotten out of whack, but that's another tip that I would encourage you, that as you go through these agencies, and I'll try to point them out, a lot of them offer annual conferences that you can get information as a parent or a professional. And so it's worth getting into, just looking into the know of some of these agencies. You have your social emotional categories, but I want to take a moment to mention the deaf and hard of hearing camps, because we are about to come up on summer. And I know I'm a parent. I've already started planning my 6 weeks of summer with my children. And so you have these camps here. Camp Sertoma is on here. They have different Sertoma chapters all across the state, and they do fundraising to actually provide a week of camp at the College Clemson Outdoor Lab in the upstate for students who are deaf and hard of hearing, and it's a 1 week residential camp. And that's a great resource, and children are able to start at the age of 7 and go through 13 for that camp. Camp Wonder Hands is affiliated with Prisma Hospital, and they go from 7 to 15 for camp. And they have a camp coming up in July 17th through 21st week. And so those applications are out. And then School for the Deaf and Blind has a camp. They were on a pause during COVID, but they are starting back after the 3rd year of a pause this year and doing camp the week of June 19th. And so that application is out there, and you can also find it on our Facebook page as we put flyers and information there. And Camp Burnt Jen is another summer camp, and it's for children with various disabilities, not just deaf or hard of hearing or blind, as I mentioned in the previous 3. So it could be multiple disabilities that are there and have various weeks. So I just wanted to spotlight that because we are coming up on this summer. Next slide.
Hey, Jocelyn, it's Lisa. I just wanted to add to that the South Carolina A.G. Bell K. Todd Houston Scholarship is out there. The application is, you can get the application off of our website. You can get it off of our Facebook page at South Carolina A.G. Bell or SCAG Bell, or you can email scagbell@gmail.com, and we can provide you with the information so that you can submit your scholarship. It is for seniors or students who are in secondary college education or vocational colleges, and we provide that scholarship. The application is due on May 31st of this year. So we hope to get a lot of applicants. We've definitely had a lot of interest thus far, but please, if you know someone out there whose primary communication modality is spoken language, we would love to support them as they continue to seek higher education.
Thank you so much. Okay, getting into the next category of educational support services. What we have here are different entities like School for the Deaf and Blind. I just mentioned their camp, but the video is next to them that you can get information. And that is a residential program too for deaf and hard of hearing, or if you're local, it could be a day program. But they're our state deaf and blind program in the upstate. And then they also have a component of that that's the Deaf Blind Project that's in the upstate. Carter Hears is another organization. It's a wonderful organization, and they have interpreters, educational interpreters that help with a lot of support in the school districts and can be a great resource for you. And they're also working on getting a grant for the Quill School to actually have a deaf and hard of hearing specific program, and they're working on getting those services. You have some college institutions down there that are mentioned, such as Converse College. They've been getting very active on Facebook and with their student chapter this year with doing a lot of community meetups, and they've had pizza parties and painting sits. So if you're in that area in the upstate of Converse College, I encourage you to get on their Facebook and stay connected with what they're doing. South Carolina Deaf and Hard of Hearing Education Partnership. That's actually a partnership with the South Carolina Department of Education, School for the Deaf and Blind, multiple agencies. And they have a conference coming up in October, the latter part of the month. And I'm going to tell you at the end how you can stay connected with these different agencies so it won't be so overwhelming, and give you a resource that you can stay connected with them. SC Voc Rehab, just as we're doing our Topic Tuesday, they do a similar session with topics, and they have some wonderful topics, and they have a lot that's geared toward transition services and older students, even though they have services for all levels. So a very good diverse group of educational entities that we have here. And so, as I mentioned, this can be a lot. Go through it at your leisure. You'll have this as a reference and videos that you could do. But another tip that I want to offer is that when you go to it and browse, check out whether they have newsletter subscription. That's a great way for it to not be all on you. You can just sign up one time and then monthly you get a newsletter. And I know personally, sometimes I can't offer all of them, that I even keep a little folder in my email to just move them over, that when I can get to it, they can be there. So don't get overwhelmed because it can be a lot, but that would be a tip that I would give you all on these educational entities right here. Next slide.
It's not advancing. There we go. Sorry about that, Jocelyn.
Did we miss one? I think it was no, we didn't. Okay. So educational, and so to go to the, no, we did miss one. What's the next one?
Well, that was the educational. The professionals, I think we missed that one.
Yes, yeah, that one. Okay, so not a problem. The professionals, deaf and hard of hearing adults, disability services, and other services. This is another great page of resources because for the professionals, on your journey of finding out that your child is deaf and hard of hearing, you're probably definitely coming across these agencies because your audiologist is probably likely a member of the SE Academy of Audiology. Your speech therapist, again, is likely a part of the Hearing Association. If you have interpreter services and benefited from that, they're a part of SCRED. If your child is deaf, you have deaf role models. You should be familiar with your Association for the Deaf. These are great programs along with all of them on here, but I highlight those four because they also do annual conferences. And while they do conferences for professionals, sometimes at various years, they are mindful of maybe doing topics for parents to go to as well. So you may be able to find something of interest there. Deaf and hard of hearing adults is very important because, as I mentioned, most children are born to hearing families with no prior experience with deafness. And so our deaf adults and role models, even older students who are deaf and hard of hearing, can be your role models. And as we get together and have mingles personally for South Carolina Hands and Voices, and as you may work with beginnings, parent role modeling is important. And so we work to try to have them involved with our parent mingles. And if you're getting resources, you may be connected with a deaf adult that could be practicing with you as you learn ASL, etc. We have wonderful disability services here. And I want to highlight that we've done a prior topic Tuesday on ABLE SC. And it's another one that we'll talk about. That's the financial piece of it. And we've done that one. Amplify Life is under other services. They're a good service with distribution program. And Relay SC is also one that helps with communication. And they can also have some free services and even some free services with CART services too. So these are some great agencies to look into. Next slide. Okay. Family services, I just wanted to give you a visual again, because we keep parents as the center with all of the resources around. And so this next slide will have a lot of the information on it about each individual agency that you could look up. But as we support families, family referrals to other agencies, whether it's Beginning, Hands and Voices. If you have a younger child, you probably have gone through the First Sound program to make sure that they're identified and not lost to follow up. Family Connections is another state agency that helps with family disability services and connecting and doing referrals and have stuff. If your child's younger, you would want some of the early childhood services, and Beginnings in School for the Deaf and Blind is great with getting you connected. And if your child is in a child care center and they don't have any prior experience with a child who's deaf and hard of hearing, Beginnings has a grant program they're able to go out and educate those child care providers at the school about deafness in the child and look at the facilities and give tips about whether it's the right environment for them hearing, if there's some things that would be distracting, like a fan or being next to a window or maybe chairs on the floor. A great resource for that with childhood services. You have support services with DSS, advocacy, whether it's for the parent or helping your child. We have those agencies. Assistive technology. You have, if you're considering or have gone the cochlear implant route, you have those agencies listed. CapTel is one that's for communication with phone services. And I want to highlight SC, Assistive Technology Program. This is a great program that allows you to do loan programs with equipment, but they also do a great conference annually. And they just had one this past month, I want to say in March, that they typically do annually over at the Colonial Center in Columbia, where tons of disability services come for their conference. And that's a wealth of information. So get connected with them. As I mentioned, Palmetto Able is a savings program. And I want to highlight this topic Tuesday because they gave some good information, especially if your child is on Medicaid services, and how you can save for your child who has a disability without jeopardizing having Medicaid services. Because sometimes if you have over a certain amount in savings, like $2,000 or something, or if you get SSI and other supplemental financial support, that if you save for your kid, that may bounce you off. But this SC Able, Palmetto Able Savings Program is a great way to help save while not jeopardizing your benefits with other services. And then Healthy Connections is another great one, again, with the Medicaid services that help. And so next slide. And so, as I mentioned, that visual on the prior slide is basically the information on this slide. But we have videos again for these, and including the First Sound programs and more information for Beginnings SC that you could look at as well. Next slide. No, wait, did we miss the national?
No, hold on. For some reason, it did not. Okay, I will click through this very, very fast to get to that. Okay, sorry about that.
No
there we
problem.
go.
There we go. Technology, you gotta love it. Mm-hmm. In addition to all of those state programs that we mentioned, we want to take a more broad view and give you some national resources that have some great information. National Deaf Blindness Program, American Society for the Deaf Education, NTID, and this stuff can run the gamut with all. AG Bell is even a national chapter as well. So we give you those on there, as well as some specific teaching and learning sites that you can go to. And again, on my personal journey, as I found organizations and sites, like I said, I've gone to and subscribed and get newsletters in the mail, like Hearing First. I can't think of the name of the magazine my daughter gets. Hearing Our Way. That's a nice magazine that's on there. The Youth and Teen magazine that's listed down there. That's a wonderful program that's tailored to children, and snippets about why do you like your device, or why do you like being deaf, and highlight different sports and things like that, really geared to children. So while you're learning as an adult, they can get support in seeing their identity through other young kids their age through that magazine. And I want to highlight Spring Camp Cheerio, but I'm going to turn that over to Lisa because that's the conference coming up in May, and she's integral in that.
So yeah, Spring Camp Cheerio is still accepting registrations. Although the actual campsites, I think, are booked, but or the cabins. But nonetheless, it's coming up May 19th through the 21st. It is always a lovely, lovely weekend, filled with all kinds of wonderful activities for the children and also opportunities for parents to learn and from one another. It is a camp where cued speech and American Sign Language and listening and spoken language are all welcome together, come together to learn and just enjoy one another's company. So would love to see you there. If you're interested, you can visit the springcampcheerio.org to register. Thank you, Jocelyn.
Not a problem. Okay, last slide. Should be a next steps. Did that come up? Okay. Won't spend too much time on that. Stay connected with us on Facebook and both of our websites with sdhandsandvoices.org or beginningssd.org, and you can get links to Topic Tuesday information. I encourage you, if you're looking through the topics and it's something that you're interested in and you want more information about, shoot us an email because we will gladly reach out with that agency and ask that they be a presenter for that. So we always love the topics. As I mentioned, a lot of those agency does conferences and it's kind of hard to check and know and calendars changing. We have a new website, scdhhevents.org, and we're starting to put related events, whether it's professional, family related, community related. So if it's a small mingle at a Starbucks to a major conference for a professional organization, you can find it on there. The nice thing about it, it's color coded by area. So when you look at the calendar, you can say, I'm in the upstate, so I need to look at the greens. And then the nice thing about it is you can subscribe to the calendar and it will link to yours. So you don't ever have to go back to it because if anything is uploaded, it'll automatically show on your joined calendar and you can just get an alert that way. And so I want to mention a couple of things that will develop from this PowerPoint. We're working with Beginnings SC and other state agencies with the Language Thrivation Committee. And we're going to develop this more and get tips and tidbits directly from the agency and come up with a statewide manual that will be fluid and electronic. But it'll give you a way to look and say, okay, my child is 13 middle school. So what's available from the agencies right now for my child's group, and even have it by service sector. So whether it's education, finance, support, etc. So know we're always trying to develop resources. So stay connected with us because we don't want you to reinvent the wheel. We don't want to make this process harder. All of us have information that we can share and stay connected. So it's good to be a part so you don't have to work so hard outside, as well as you get the support. So that manual will be coming. Another good way to get connected with these associations is through our annual back to school bash, like I mentioned, with Irmo Fire Department being a partner. That's coming up July 29th, and you can get that information on the Beginnings SC website. And registration will come up for that, but that's in the Columbia area annually at Seven Oaks Park. And so a lot of these agencies come out and exhibit. And then the nice thing is back to school bash. So you can get your school supplies. And so come out to that because see what school supplies you get. And it's before the tax-free weekend. And then you can go and do the rest of your goodies. And then the last thing I'll mention is we are doing our first Deaf and Hard of Hearing annual conference September 15th and 16th. So if you see a presentation or agency here that you would like to have presented there, reach out to us. But the next mingle that we have scheduled will do a deeper dive into the back to school bash and the conference, and you can see what's to come with both of those initiatives. And so that will be a wrap up as far as next steps and staying connected with us. Lisa, did you want to close out and then take questions?
Jocelyn, I'm sorry, I missed the date for that Deaf and Hard of Hearing conference that you were just mentioning at the end there.
September 15th with a family game night, and then September 16th with a full day parent and student conference.
Thank you. So we're really excited about upcoming events and all the collaboration that's taking place here in South Carolina, to really, break down those walls and kind of bring us all together, because our common purpose here is to make sure that our children who are deaf and hard of hearing have access, that they can develop language, and that they can, move through the educational system with, like their hearing peers, or, and have their needs met, and just continue on out into the world and become these lovely tax-paying citizens. So Jocelyn, thanks so much for everything. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in chat. I'm going to stop the share now, and we would be happy to take any questions that you might have.